Hey everybody, Eternal Fire here, bringing you a video guide on the Balanced Druid and the pre-patch to the Legion expansion 7.0.3. Today we're going to be looking at some of the talent builds for your spec. We're going to be looking at the single target rotation as well as the AoE target rotation. We're going to go over some of the new spells and just some of the things we need to know to maximize on your Balanced Druid. With that said, let's go into the talents. Force of Nature, Warrior of Elune, and Star Lord. Force of Nature is the weakest of the three, so we're not going to talk about it. Warrior of Elune is an instant cast. Your next two lunar strikes are instant cast, so if you're going to be needing some high burst very quickly, that might be a talent you want to take. Star Lord is going to be the best talent for you across the board in this tier. It's a passive ability which makes your lunar and solar empowerments also reduce the cast time of their affected spells by 20%, which are Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike. It makes those casts 20% faster, so that's why I chose that talent. In the next tier, we have Renewal, Displacer Beast, and Wild Charge, which Wild Charge you won't use in almost any situation. Renewal is a self-heal for 30% up to your maximum health, and Displacer Beast teleports you up to 25 yards forward, activating Cat form and increasing your movement speed by 50% for 4 seconds. In the next tier, we have Feral, Guardian, and Restoration Affinity. Feral Affinity, you're going to want to choose it based on the passive abilities you have for this tier. So you either get Feline, which is increase your movement speed by 15%. You're going to take Thick Hide, which reduces all damage taken by 10%, which is why I chose this. It's going to be the most effective for dungeons or raids. Restoration Affinity gives you Ysera's Gift, which is a passive. It heals you for 3% of your maximum health every 5 seconds. If you are at full health, a random nearby injured ally will be healed instead. Next, we have our crowd control tier. Mighty Bash is a single target stun. Mass Entanglement roots the target for 20 seconds in place, but it can be interrupted by damage taken. Typhoon strikes targets within 20 yards in front of you with a violent typhoon, knocking them back and dazing them for 6 seconds, usable in all shapeshift forms. I like this ability because it's an AoE stun, and it stuns them for 6 seconds. In the next tier, we have Soul of the Forest, Incarnation Chosen of Elune, and Stellar Flare. So we're not going to be talking about Soul of the Forest because the other two are more powerful. So Stellar Flare it burns the target with astral damage and then deals additional damage over 24 seconds. Stellar Flare benefits from Starfall's stellar empowerment. So if you have the Seed of Creation trinket from Hellfire Citadel, you're going to want to take Stellar Flare, because basically that's a dot that you're going to want to keep up at all times. But with your Seed of Creation trinket, it gives you a chance to proc Starfall, which will make this more a powerful ability. If you do not have Seed of Creation, you're going to want to take the Incarnation Chosen of Elune. This replaces Celestial Alignment, which is this ability here. Celestial bodies align, increasing the damage of all your spells by 30% and increasing the astral power generated by Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath by 50%, and it only lasts 15 seconds. If you take the Incarnation Chosen of Elune ability, it makes the duration go up to 30 seconds and increases the damage by 5%, so you have 35% damage increase instead. So if you don't have the Seed of Creation ability, you're going to want to choose this talent. If you do, you're going to take Stellar Flare. Next, we're going to look at Shooting Stars, Astral Communion, and Blessing of the Ancients. Astral Communion generates 75 astral power, and that's going to be powerful in the with Fury of Elune in the actual Legion expansion when you have your artifact weapon. But for now, we're going to be choosing Blessing of the Ancients. It is a passive ability. You gain a Blessing of the Ancients activating or swapping between one of the two following beneficial effects, Blessing of Elune and Blessing of Anshi. We're going to be taking Blessing of Elune. They're basically two auras that they give you, which just buff one of your, buff the active generation of your astral power. You're going to want to choose Blessing of Elune. It increases astral power generated by Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike by 40%, making it just more powerful. Fury of Elune is something you're going to want to use once you have your artifact weapon in Legion. Stellar Drift and Nature's Balance. Stellar Drift increases Starfall's radius by 30% and Starfall damage by 20% and allows you to cast while moving within Starfall's radius. Nature's Balance is going to be your single target choice here. It's a passive ability, aligns the power of the moon and the stars, causing Lunar Strike to extend the duration of your Moonfire by 5.1 seconds and Solar Wrath to extend the duration of your Sunfire by 3.4 seconds. So basically, if used right, your dots are pretty much never going to fall off unless the boss becomes unattackable. At that point, when it becomes attackable again, you'd simply reapply your dots. So with that said, for your Balanced Druid, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have Intellect, obviously, first and foremost on all your gear, and then your main primary stat that you're going to want to stack is Haste. followed up with crit and mastery. So when we look at the passive abilities here in the spec, you have Astral Influence, increases the range of all your abilities by 5 yards. Mastery, Starlight, increases Starfall and Star Surge damage in the effect of Lunar, Solar, and Stellar Empowerments by an additional 31%. And Thick Hide, again, is just the talent I chose for Guardian Affinity, it reduces all damage taken by 10%. So let's take a look at the single target DPS rotation. First and foremost, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to apply your dots. You're going to use Sunfire, Moonfire, apply your Stellar Flare, and then you're going to want to use your Celestial Alignment. You're going to then use Solar Wrath in a single target situation to build your Astral Power until you can dump all your Astral Power using Star Surge. When you use Star Surge, it also grants you Lunar and Solar Empowerment, which increases the damage of your next Lunar Strike and Solar Wrath by 51% respectively. You can accumulate up to 3 of each empowerment. So basically it looks like this. When you use Star Surge, you get an empowerment of Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike. You're going to want to use those charges immediately and then build with Solar Wrath until you have enough Astral Power to use Star Surge again. It can stack up to 3 times, but you're going to be using it so much you want to make sure you're not getting it up to 3 times, because if you use any more surges, Star Surges when you have 3 charges already, you're not going to be benefiting from that at all. Another thing you want to make sure you're not doing on your balanced Druid is getting up to 100 Astral Power without using your Star Surge or your Starfall. You want to make sure that you're using it, you're using that Astral Power as soon as it's available. So you're going to put your dots up, you're going to pop your damage cooldown, you're going to use Solar Wrath until you have Star Surge up. Once you have Star Surge up, you're going to get your charges on Solar Wrath and Lunar Strike. Rinse and repeat. That's your single target DPS rotation. Now let's go on to the AoE rotation. You're going to put up your dots on the primary target, Sunfire and Moonfire. Sunfire is an AoE damage ability. It hits the primary target and all enemies within 5 yards, so you're going to want to make sure that's up in an AoE pack of enemies. Lunar Strike is what you're going to want to use to build Astral Power in an AoE situation, because it hits the primary target and all other enemies within 5 yards as well. So when you're building up your Astral Power to dump using Starfall, you're going to want to use Lunar Strike instead of Solar Wrath, where you would use that in a single target situation. Starfall is your main AoE ability. It calls down waves of falling stars of the targeted area, dealing astral damage over 8 seconds. Also applies stellar empowerments to each target, which increases damage taken from your Moonfire and Sunfire by 51%. So that's going to be what you're going to dump your Astral Power when you're doing an AoE rotation, and Star Surge when you're doing a single target rotation. So that's the Balanced Druid guide for you in 7.0.3. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe.